So it's that time of year. 2020 Oscars nominations are out, so let's talk about it. The Best Picture category is supposed to celebrate the excellence in cinema, and only the best of the best can win.
The Oscar goes to Crash.
Wait, not that one.
Green Book.
Or that one.
La La Land.
Ah, finally.
There's a mistake.
Shit. Not all Best Picture winners have been disappointments, though. American Beauty, 12 Years a Slave, No Country for Old Men, Birdman, and a bunch of others. I am hopeful that another great movie can win this year, as there are so many great nominees. First things first, I'm going to say that this movie is actually one of the worst movies nominated this year. And that's saying something, because I love this movie. Ford v Ferrari is directed by James Mangold, the guy who made Logan. It stars Christian Bale and Matt Damon. It is about the 1966 24-hour Le Mans race, and how Ford Motor Company won the race, whereas Ferrari had won it 4 years in a row prior. It focuses on Bale and Damon's characters, Ken Miles and Carroll Shelby, as they design and test the car that would win the race, all the while being sabotaged and interfered by the bureaucrats that run Ford. Bale was great as usual, completely immersing himself into the role. Kinda surprised he was not nominated for Best Actor. He was way better than Antonio Banderas from Pain and Glory. The two key relationships in the movie, Miles and his son, and the friendship between Miles and Shelby, were both entertaining to watch and kept the characters grounded and relatable. The main praise I'd give this movie is in its camera work and sound design. They had cameras all over the cars during the racing scenes. You're able to see such a variety of shots from inside and outside of the car, to make it feel super immersive for the audience. The noise of the cars shook the theater that I was in, injecting adrenaline straight into my dumb male monkey brain. So I don't know, I guess I like cars now?
Could you tell me right quick, what would be a better motor for my Skyline, a Gallo 12 or a Gallo 24?
I wouldn't be surprised if this movie won Best Sound Mixing, as it was pretty phenomenal. Sound editing as well, because the Academy doesn't know the difference between the two categories and always gives it to the same movie.
The loudest movie wins the Sound Awards, and it was the loudest movie.
However, I don't think this movie has a whole lot going on a deeper level, other than a father and son story and a pretty ham-fisted struggle between bureaucracy and free thinking. The movie doesn't really have anything to say, and it's just a paint-by-numbers biopic. I like movies that make me think on it after I finish watching it, but I feel that I got everything I will out of this movie after one watch. And I can say that, because I've seen this movie twice.
Twice!
Regardless, I think this movie's pretty good. I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd, but I would be disappointed if it won Best Picture, even though it seems like the type of thing the Academy would like.
Either way, he's going.
Have you ever gone, man, I really want to sit in the theater for 4 hours? Well, this movie is for you. The Irishman is so fucking long. 200 minutes of runtime seems like it should be tiresome and should outstay its welcome, but this movie shits all over that notion. In 2019, Martin Scorsese dropped one of his best movies to date, and that's saying something. Have you seen his filmography? Damn. This all-star cast is insane. De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci play some of the best roles they've ever played. Even at their age, they're showing up today's actors. Actors of their kind will never be seen again. Harvey Keitel is also somehow in this movie as well. Not in a large capacity, but it's still great to see him in a good role again. This movie is very similar to Scorsese's 1990 film Goodfellas, also starring De Niro and Pesci, as it follows De Niro's character Frank through his rise and fall in organized crime. But even with its similarities to Goodfellas, it still seems like its own thing, not just seeming like more of the same. This movie used a lot of de-aging special effects in it, and it was pretty good. Noticeable at some places, but not distracting. I preferred De Niro and Pesci be de-aged, rather than different actors playing their younger selves, as I think this movie is a good send-off for the two actors. They're not getting any younger, you know. Pesci came out of retirement for this movie, so I can't see him doing any other movies after this, unless, you know, more homework.
Hello.
I could see this movie winning Best Visual Effects for its de-aging process, but the hacks at Academy will probably just give it to The Lion King.
Yes, of course!
And I love the screenplay, amazing dialogue, and a great depiction of real-life events, even though it might not be 100% accurate to how things actually happened. Full of a few conspiracy theories. And again, I am pissed off that De Niro wasn't nominated for Best Actor. He was phenomenal, better than most of the nominees. Even at his age, he's still as good as he was back in Taxi Driver and Goodfellas. Well, at least Pesci and Pacino both got nominations for Best Supporting Role. That would be great picks for the award. Would prefer Pesci though. His role seems so unique and yet so similar to his role in Goodfellas.
He said, no, you're gonna tell me something today, tough guy. I said, all right, I'll tell you something. Go fuck your mother.
I wouldn't be disappointed if Scorsese won Best Director as well. He is one of the best directors ever, and I would love to make a video on his filmography one day. On Letterboxd, I gave this movie a perfect 5 stars, and I mean it. It's amazing, and one of the best movies of the year. As gangster movies go, it's not as good as Goodfellas or The Godfather, but you know, better than Gotti.
Daily News to the fucking Post? Yeah, since when do they tell the truth?
can't believe this movie was nominated for Best Picture. This movie was directed by New Zealand director Taika Waititi, and as you might be able to tell from my accent, I'm a Kiwi through and through. So call me biased, but I love this movie. It was about a German child during World War II who befriends a Jew and learns that they aren't so bad after all. So basically the synopsis of The Boy in Striped Pajamas. Roman Griffith Davis did a great job as Jojo. If there was a reward for Best Child Actor, he would win. He was funny and likable, giving emotion to the role. You don't see child actors like this every day. Scarlett Johansson played the role of Jojo's mum, and she got a Best Supporting Actress nomination for this movie, which is fitting, because this is one of my favourite roles of hers. She may be the best mum ever. I wish ScarJo was my mum. Dan Rockwell gave a great performance as well, playing a German soldier that mentors Jojo. No supporting actor nomination for him sadly, but I'm sure he'll survive. He got a nomination for this category last year, and won it the year before that. Stop being such a good actor, Rockwell. Give other people a chance.
Run that clock!
The director, Taika Waititi, played the role of Jojo's imaginary friend, a comedic parody of Adolf Hitler. And I'll say it, he should have got a Best Supporting Actor nomination. He probably would have got it too, but the competition is so good this year. Look at these nominations. Damn. This movie is hilarious, but at the same time emotional and sweet. I hope no one saw me crying in the theater every time I saw it. And I saw it 3 times. I've got to support my boy Taika. I would have loved to see a Best Director nomination for Taika as well, but I shouldn't be greedy. It got 6 nominations. New Zealand filmmakers don't really get the time of day from Hollywood, unless, their name is Peter Jackson.
Guys, I'm afraid it's just not possible.
I gave this movie 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. Half a star deducted for Rebel Wilson's role in this movie. Maybe the worst actor in Hollywood nowadays, the new Melissa McCarthy. I implore you to watch this movie, and I would be happy if it won Best Picture, even though I don't think it's the best movie of the year. Also, watch Taika's other movies. He's great.
I'm the Joker, baby!
Why the hell does this have 11 Oscar nominations? This is definitely better than the majority of crap that Marvel and DC shit out every year. But seriously, Best Picture? This was directed by Todd Phillips, the man that brought you not 1, not 2, but 3 Hangover movies. It shows the origins of the Batman villain, the Joker, and shows his rise in a city full of corruption and violence. First off, I want to clarify that I did really enjoy Joaquin Phoenix's portrayal of the Joker. Obviously not as good as Heath Ledger, but still great. His character was very believable, even making me feel sorry for him and his situation. He lost a lot of weight for this role, really getting into character. I wouldn't be mad if Joaquin Phoenix won Best Actor for this role. What I did have a problem with was Todd Phillips getting a Best Director nomination. What for? What, there was room for Todd Phillips but not Taika? What the hell? The direction and writing was the worst part of this movie. It acts like it's way deeper than it actually is. It wants to make commentary on heavy topics such as corruption, mental health, and fame, but is so ham-fisted on all fronts. Every revelation in this movie had to be accompanied with a flashback, because the director doesn't respect the intellect of the viewer, and doesn't think you can remember things that happened 20 minutes ago. And it really wants to be Taxi Driver, having very similar main characters and motifs. But Todd Phillips isn't fit to make Martin Scorsese a coffee, and all the references to the DC universe just makes me laugh. Like, Phillips wants me to feel deep emotion and think about heavy topics, while I'm wondering if a Samoan fishman is going to show up and make a cameo. Give me a break. I gave this movie 3 stars on Letterboxd, so I don't hate the movie, but it's so embarrassing they were acting like this was something groundbreaking and great. I guess I wouldn't care if it won Best Makeup or Hair Design. This can be the Joker Award from now on, seeing that Suicide Squad won it. But I would be mad if this movie won Best Picture. Basically, this year's Black Panther.
Pretty woman, walking down the street, pretty woman.
Now let's get back to good movies. Little Woman is a film that is nice, sweet, and charming. Then it turns around and punches you in the gut. Greta Gerwig directs the adaptation of the famous 19th century book of the same title, about 4 sisters growing up during the American Civil War. It mainly follows Saoirse Ronan's character Jo as she struggles to find her place in the world, fighting against misogyny and the expectation that her only purpose is to get married and have children.
So, who does she marry?
Every character is fleshed out and likable, except one of Jo's sisters, played by Florence Pugh, who is very unlikable. She is essentially the villain of the story, always getting in Jo's way, and not allowing her to succeed. Essentially, she's Rachel from Friends. Laura Dern had a great role playing the mother of the girls. She did an awesome job showing off her acting range that I haven't really seen from her before. Would have liked to see a supporting actress nomination, but luckily, she got it for another movie she was in that I'll talk about later. I really like the screenplay for this movie, obviously giving credit to the original author for the source material. I would like to see this win Best Adapted Screenplay, but Joker will probably win it, so, fuck the Academy.
The Academy hated me. I said, fuck you, Academy.
I was surprised to see that Gerwig didn't get a Best Director nomination. Not because I think she deserves it, but because the Academy loves diversity. A good movie directed by a female that isn't Kathleen Bigelow is hard to come by, and it seemed like a good opportunity. Well, I guess they can just give it to Todd Phillips. I really love the costume and production design in this movie, fitting the setting and the period that it's meant to be set in. There is a great scene where they hand make a book and show all the intricacies that it takes to hand stitch the leather and bind the pages. Very fascinating, and makes for a great scene. I gave this movie 4.5 stars on Letterboxd, and I'd love to see it again. Why I've seen this movie only once, but I've seen Ford v Ferrari twice, is beyond me. It wouldn't be my pick to win Best Picture, but I wouldn't be upset if it did win. Better than most of the other nominees. Marriage Story, directed by Noah Baumbach, contains a heartbreaking depiction on how divorces play out through the legal system. It shows the struggles of parents fighting over custody and money, where there is no party that is the victim or villain. Personally, coming from a broken family myself, it is so relatable and empathetic. Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver give stellar performances, probably Driver's best to date. Well, maybe not as good as his role in The Dead Don't Die.
I'm thinking zombies.
What?
You know, the undead. Ghouls.
Johansson and Driver play off against each other so well, both giving empathetic performances, so that the audience has trouble taking either side during the divorce. I feel like this movie is very similar to Blue Valentine in its depiction of a failing marriage. The screenplay is excellent, giving great commentary about the legal system and the struggles of divorce, also giving great arguments to support the perspectives of both parties in the divorce. I would not be disappointed if this won Best Original Screenplay. Laura Dern is in this movie in a supporting role, and she is excellent. Another great role by Dern this year. Guess she wants us to forget that she was in The Last Jedi. Dern plays Johansson's lawyer and is essentially the villain of the film, embodying a blood-sucking lawyer that is hell-bent on taking away all of Driver's money and the custody of his child away from him. The only negative thing I can say about this movie is the child acting, which is pretty underwhelming. It's a shame that not all child actors can be as good as Roman Griffith-Davis or Julia Butters, who was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that I'll talk about shortly. This is the Netflix original film, like The Irishman, showing that true cinema can be made by Netflix, and not just the big studios. They failed last year to win Best Picture with Roma, so this year they're hell-bent on trying again. I'm struggling to talk about this movie without spoiling the whole thing. It's great. What more do you want from me? I've given this 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. It is extremely rich with deeper meaning and has great performances. I really want both Johansson and Driver to win Best Acting awards, so give Scarlett Johansson Best Actress for this movie and Best Supporting Actress for Jojo Rabbit.
Perfectly balanced, this whole thing should be.
Going to see my father.
From Sam Mendes, the director of American Beauty and Skyfall, comes to gripping World War I epic, 1917. The gimmick of this movie is the fact that it looks like it's all in one shot, like another movie I love, Birdman. What's great about this movie using this gimmick is the fact that it has some scale to it, with hundreds of extras in trenches and big battle scenes. Roger Deakins was the cinematographer on this movie. Look at his filmography and tell me he's not the best cinematographer in the game. I would be very happy if he won Best Cinematography Award this year, like he did for Blade Runner. The way the camera moved through the trenches, following characters, was great, always making the shots feel claustrophobic and cramped. He was able to show the scale of the battles very well, but I wish there was a bit more of scale to this movie, as there are only really 2 chunks of the movie that felt like this, as the rest of the movie is just focused on 2 people on their own. The 2 main actors, George McKay and Dean Charles Chapman, were great, playing off each other very well as they raced against the clock to deliver an important message to another group of soldiers. The set pieces were very well made, completely immersing me into the world. The practical creation of so many trenches and bunkers made this film seem so real, opposed to just digitally creating them. The film's not perfect though. There was some cheesy dialogue, and the film did slow down and sag in the middle of the movie, making it far from perfect. I did like what Mendes was able to achieve in this movie, as I do think he is a good director. But I would be disappointed if he won Best Director, like he did at the Golden Globes. This is nowhere near his best film. There are just so many other directors that are deserving of this award this year. Mendes is better than Todd Phillips though. I gave this movie 4 stars, which may be a bit generous, but I could see myself watching this movie again. But I feel it might not be as visually stunning watching it at home opposed to the big cinema screen. I feel that way about Christopher Nolan's Dunkirk, feeling that the only true way to appreciate this film is on the big screen.
Buddy, order fried sauerkraut! Damn you Nazi bastards!
A lot of killing.
I'm going to start this review with an admission that prior to this movie, I was already a huge Tarantino fan. Quentin Tarantino is one of my favorite directors, constantly making hit after hit after hit. And even his worst movies are still considered to me to be better than most. Okay, now that I got that out of the way, I love this movie. This period piece of 1960s Hollywood shows off Tarantino's love of cinema. Everything from the cars driven, to the sets, and to the costumes that all the characters wear, all seem so authentic and seem to be plucked right out of the 60s. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt literally do some of the best acting they've ever done. I actually think this is Pitt's best role, except maybe in Fight Club. Leo playing an actor who is becoming a has-been, and Pitt playing his stunt double / best friend. Pitt's relationship with his dog is also great to watch. I love to see a good relationship between an animal and a human that isn't just there so the movie can have a cute dog or something. There's no overarching plot to this movie, as it's just about the relationship between the two men. But the various side plots that these two go through are very fun and entertaining to watch. This movie also portrays the infamous Manson killing of actress Sharon Tate, played by Margot Robbie. But in classic Tarantino style, he takes the real life event and completely changes it. So don't use this movie as a history lesson on how things actually happened. Stay in school. This is Tarantino writing a script based on real life events.
What am I going to do about Hitler? Because I hadn't figured that out yet. And so I took a piece of paper and I just wrote on it, just effing kill him.
The archive footage of Sharon Tate's films were very nice to see as well, seeming very respectful for her memory to use archive footage instead of reshooting the scenes with Margot Robbie. The writing was amazing as usual. Never a dull moment, even when there was just two people talking. I would be very happy to see this win Best Original Screenplay. So many quotable lines. Tarantino is also another person I'd love to see win Best Director. This is the third nomination for Best Director for him, and he has yet to win one. It seems something the Academy would do to finally give him one. You know, he's past due. It's like when they finally gave Leo an Oscar for The Revenant. This may be one of Tarantino's last films, so I'm so glad that he made this piece of art, and I could see this being considered one of Tarantino's finest. Right up there with Pulp Fiction. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is a masterpiece.
And I want you to fucking acknowledge it.
What's more to say? 5-star movie. Seen it 3 times in theaters. I can't wait to get on Blu-ray and watch it again. Artists like Tarantino are few and far between. I would love to make a video about his filmography one day. It is so jam-packed with amazing films. Oh my god. I can't believe this is nominated. This is my favorite movie of the year by far. Note that The Lighthouse hasn't been released in New Zealand yet, so that might change. Parasite was directed by Korean director Bong Joon-ho, the guy that brought you Okja and Memories of Murder. The movie is about a poor Korean family who infiltrate the servant positions of a wealthy family by lying and scheming, and is an excellent commentary on wealth inequality and the corruption of wealth. The screenplay was so original and clever, I've never seen anything like it. Every word was gripping, creating such an interesting viewing experience. Definitely a favorite of mine to win Best Original Screenplay. Bong Joon-ho got a Best Director nomination, which is great. The first Korean to be nominated. Even though I would be happy with a Scorsese or Tarantino win, Joon-ho would be preferred to me. Don't know if you'll ever get this kind of recognition again. And obviously, it was nominated for Best Foreign Film. I wonder which film is going to win this category. Maybe the only foreign film nominated for Best Picture? On a side note, very surprised Portrait of a Lady on Fire wasn't nominated for Best Foreign Film. Kinda actually upset about this. Pain and Glory wasn't that good. Anyway, Parasite is amazing, and everyone seems to agree with me. It's actually the highest rated movie on Letterboxd at the time of me recording this. I'm glad other people agree with me on my appreciation for this film. I could do a whole video on Bong Joon-ho's filmography, and I probably will one day. He has made some great stuff. Still have a few of his movies I need to see. I can't say too much more about this movie without spoiling it. But the acting is great, the cinematography is great, the writing is great, everything is great. I gave this 5 stars on Letterboxd. Would be 6 if I could. Seen it 3 times. This is my pick for Best Picture, even though some of the other movies I'd be happy with winning. Not Joker though.